video, you will learn how to create romance and the things you should do to build passion. You will also understand what communication has to do with romance and how the little things make a difference.
What I've found is that relationships sometimes are hard work, and other times they're fun. And that's the way it should be. Sometimes, if we just take that metaphor, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, Martians kind of have the idea that you go to work, and when you come home, everything should be easy, automatic. And when a woman wants to, quote, work on the relationship, then go, what? Why should we work on the relationship? And of course she goes, well, you work for those people over there, you work for those people over there. Why not work with me? Okay? And she doesn't understand it. But the bottom line is that for thousands of years, men did their work outside the home. But these are the 90s. Things have changed. That doesn't mean hard work. It just means a little work. Because when I talk about working on a relationship, it's just like in your job. If you're really good, I love my job. It's taken me 23 years to get to the place where I am. I love doing what I do, but it's hard work. It's work, but I enjoy it. I have fun. But in the beginning, it wasn't. It was hard work. There were slammed doors on me, obstacles, struggle. Everybody goes through it in starting a business. But you have your vision, you have your dream, and then you work hard to achieve that. But once you start achieving what you want to achieve, then you start to enjoy your work more. That's what I suggest about relationships. Relationships require some work and they require some play, a balance. What men have to work at is working a bit on the relationship, and what women have to work at is giving him a vacation sometimes on the relationship. Okay, so that's the balance we work at. And not to expect too much from him, but the bottom line from a man's point of view, what women can understand, men are willing to give more and more and more in small increments. That's the secret. Sometimes women, when a guy's in a good mood and she's starting to get something, she goes, hey, it must be the stars are in the right place. Let's go for more. Okay, so now she wants more and more and more. And she doesn't realize that when men give, we need to feel like, okay, I did my job. She's happy. All right. Then he goes on a little vacation. Then you ask for a little bit more. So you ask for more in small increments. I remember a story of a woman who was sharing after I was talking about this, and she says, that's what happened. So what happened? She says, well, my husband and I were in the store, we were shopping, and he was taking me to this place, and I was really admiring this jacket, this really nice overcoat. It was very expensive. But he said, no, honey, you should have this. And she says, oh, but it's so expensive. I can get something cheaper. He says, no, we can afford it. You can have it. So he's like really, inside he's thinking, well, I may not be able to get that latest VCR or whatever. You know, he's thinking, but I want to make her happy. So they get the coat. She's putting it on, admiring. He's going, yep, I provided that coat for her. He's feeling really good, like he's done something great. Then they're walking down the escalators, going down the escalators. And you know how the big stores are. They make you walk all the way around so you see more things to buy. So as they're walking down the escalator and going all the way around, she sees shoes, all these shoes. And she stops and says, oh, look at these shoes. These shoes would go perfect with this overcoat. And she said, when I started talking about the shoes, he immediately just shut down. He became cold and distant, and she didn't know what happened. She said, I wasn't expecting him to buy me the shoes. He didn't have to buy the shoes. But when he got the message is, I already got you the overcoat. Now you want more? Then what are you going to ask for? More and more and more? And so he just stops giving. So the secret with men is understanding whenever a man makes a gesture of giving, it's kind of like, okay, let's appreciate it. Let's acknowledge it. Go on vacation with it. Enjoy it. Then next time he does a little bit more. So you have to ask for more, but you do it in small increments. And we're going to explore ways to ask so that men will respond in a positive way instead of what women mostly experience, and they tell me again and again. I ask him to do things. He says, sure, and then what happens? He forgets to do it. Any women ever relate to that? You know, you ask, he's like, what's going on, right? You know, it's just like, he's not a bad guy. It's so many guys this goes on. In my book, What Your Mother Couldn't Tell You and Your Father Didn't Know, there's a whole chapter on why men forget, okay? And women remember everything, okay? One of those basic differences between men and women. We have to understand what these differences are, And first of all, realize that it's not just my partner. Because when a man forgets to do things, then a woman asks again, he forgets again, she asks again. She starts nagging him about it. And you know, he doesn't want to hear nagging, and she doesn't want to be nagging. But women say to me, but I have to nag him. What else do? I don't know what to do. The only other thing to do is just do it myself. And of course, all you women know that experience. You've asked him, you ask him. You go, well, I guess I'll just have to do it myself. And then if you do it yourself, guess what happens? She resents him, and he ends up going, well, I guess I didn't have to do that. It just reinforces this thing. So the secret in a relationship is to be able to ask a man to do little things in small increments, one at a time. When he does it, then you go, oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Oh, this is so helpful. Or this is really nice. So he's every day, so he feels he's somehow contributing to your life. Whereas for women, now I'm talking to the men, for women, the way you score points with women is to think, what does she want, and do it before she has to ask. Okay? That's what romance is when a woman doesn't have to ask and a man thinks on his own to do something. She goes, oh, how nice. Any women relate to that? Yeah, you know that one? Okay. So the perfect example of what romance is this thing that women love. Most women, Venusians, they love cut flowers. Okay? It's the eternal romance symbol. And I've studied this one because it's such a big thing. I'm counseling women would say, he doesn't bring me flowers anymore. You know, Barbra Streisand sang a big hit. Everybody for years, he doesn't bring me flowers. You don't bring me flowers anymore. And the funny thing is she's singing with a duet as well. I've never heard a man come in and say, she doesn't bring me flowers anymore. Okay? Men don't sing those songs. Women sing those songs. Women have those feelings. He doesn't bring me flowers anymore. Why is it that he stops bringing flowers? He doesn't know that flowers are so important. He can't figure it out. Flowers are impractical. If you bring cut flowers, they die in 5 days. Very inefficient. You then have to go out and spend more money to buy them. Spend more money. If you just buy a potted plant, $10, you can plant it in the ground. Right? So, yeah. That's the men clapping. They're from Mars. Martian's motto is never do anything you don't have to do. Got a good formula? Keep it, okay? Just stick to it. Hey, want flowers? Here's a potted plant. Done with. Don't have to think about it anymore. But see, that's not romantic. Okay? Potted plant is another child she has to take care of. Okay? That's more work for her. Okay? Cut flowers are romantic because cut flowers die in 5 days. He has to remember and replace them, okay? What that means is it's a message that he gives to her, which says, oh, I love her. Let me think of something nice, some little thing to bring her, to do for her. And that's it. It's cut flowers. Little presents, little calls, little notes. Think about the last time you left your partner a little note. See, I've got daughters, 3 daughters, wife, female dog, female rabbit, women all over me, okay? I watch how they operate, okay? It's a whole different way. When they leave town, they go visit places, they leave little notes for each other to find. And they keep those notes for years. I mean, they're like there. All the notes I've ever left my wife are all in a little drawer next to her bed. And I found them there one time. I said, you keep all this stuff? The men just throw that stuff away. Okay. You keep all this stuff? She says, oh, yeah. I says, well, what do you do with it? She says, on those days when you seem like you could care less about me at all, and I start wondering, why am I in this marriage? I open up that drawer, I look at those notes, and it says, he wrote those notes. He still loves me, okay? So she has to remind her of that. Little reminders. Because see, what happens with us men is that we tend to focus on our goals. We're goal-oriented, achievement-oriented, get to the top of the ladder, climb the rungs of the ladder to get to the top. We're always like moving ahead like that. In the beginning of a relationship, our goal is the woman, to win her love, to provide fulfillment for her, to make her happy. That's our goal. We do anything to get there. So we do use our best skills to get there. And once she's happy and fulfilled, we naively think, did my job. Okay. Now she'll be happy. It'll last a week. That's it. A week, 2 weeks. You got to do all that stuff again. And men go, oh, no, not all that stuff I did when I was courting her. That's too much work. See, a lot of guys think when they get married, good, I don't have to do all that anymore, okay? They go overboard because they're trying to, it's like, again, a job interview. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Then you see what you really have to do. And that's what men are looking for. What do you have to do to make a woman happy once she's open to receiving you? And our programming that we get from childhood, that we get in our society, is the way you make a woman happy is you be a good provider. Even if she's out there working as well, you be a good provider. You work hard, you do your working out in the world, and when you come home, you don't have to work. And part of my message is there has to be some work on the relationship, just as anything's important to us. And women they see us putting our heart and soul into our work sometimes, and they're going, when's he doing it to me? He's not doing it with me. I must be less important than those people. Therefore, we have to show her from time to time how important she is. I'm not talking all the time. As I mentioned before, women instinctively give and give and give, and they like to receive and receive and receive. The problem with women is that they give and they don't keep receiving back what they're giving. They give and they give and they don't receive back. They give and they give, they become empty. At that point, they become resentful when they're giving. And now you have a resentful woman. And unfortunately, when a woman's in resentment, she's not able to give the man the love and appreciation he needs. So we have to understand this dynamic. So before I give you the solution to all this, because it's really quite simple once we figure these two different worlds out, let me complicate the problem a little bit more. Here's a man who's working really hard. He comes home and wants to just relax, expects his wife to just love him. He's worked hard. She should just love him. And she's busy doing things for him and all this stuff. And after a while, she starts giving more than she feels she's getting. She's going to start resenting him. And at a certain point, she's going, hey, you know, this isn't enough. And so he goes, okay, well, what do you want? She says, well, you never bring me flowers. So he says, okay. He goes to the store, buys flowers, brings them home. Does that do anything? Does nothing. See, the way women have it set up, guys, if they have to ask, it doesn't count. Romance is doing those things without her having to ask. So we need to be educated. And how are we supposed to learn these things? How are we supposed to know these things? We don't know them. Now, if I'd been a little boy growing up in a home and I'd watched my father on a weekly basis being occasionally the flower man, he'd bring home the flowers. My wife would go, oh, such beautiful flowers, Dave. That's so beautiful. I love them. And I'd see this glow on her face. Then as a man growing up, instinctively, I'd see my wife, a cold front coming in. Instinctively, I go, I got to get to the flower store, okay? Head out to the flower store. Come bring her some flowers, okay? And again, flowers is the metaphor. It's not just flowers, although they work. And the flowers need to be cut. Cut flowers that will die in 5 days. Why? Why? So that he has to think, remember, and do it again. And do it again. And do it again. It's like for a man, he thinks, why? Why do I have to do it again? I did that already. I did that job. I go over and do it again and again and again. He wants to keep climbing the ladder. You see, the ladder of success in relationships. He thinks, because see, hierarchy in the workforce is when you join a company, for example, many times, particularly when you're young, you join at the bottom. And you do the bottom ladder jobs, okay? Like I started out Jack in the Box. And I didn't even get to be a cook, you know. I was washing onion ring things in the back, you know, and the whole time cleaning these greasy walls and emptying the trash and breaking down the boxes, making 79 cents an hour, okay? Now, the whole time, I was happy to have the work. I was happy to have the job. I was proud of myself making money. But you know, clearly in my mind, what was in my mind? I'll be happy to do this job so I can get to the next level. So I can get to the next level. So I can get to the next level where I don't have to do all those things. So see, men are oriented. They're happy to do certain things. Then they think they go to the next level. So when a man's courting a woman, let's say he brings her the flowers. Costs $6. Brings her flowers. She's happy. Great, great, I did that. Now he's married to her. He's wearing the ring. $6, what's that? I'm making money so she can go out and buy as many flowers as she wants. You know, why do I spend time going out and getting them? You know, that's why I made the mistake one time telling my wife, honey, you're at the grocery store anyway. Just pick them up. They're cheaper there. Not good, doesn't work. So understanding our differences, okay. We men, if we want to be romantic, successful relationships, provide the emotional fulfillment that women need. And women of the 90s, what they're looking for most from a man is not so much material support, where he provides from the material world, because they can go out and get that themselves. What they're hungry for is more emotional support. But that doesn't mean becoming a woman and giving her the emotional support a woman would give. It means learning, as a man, how to provide a new kind of support for women that men in history didn't know how to do, and women in history never felt the need for. It's how do you do this? And primarily, it's communication, and the second thing is romance. We've already talked a lot about how we need to listen to women, validate their feelings. We've talked about how women need to appreciate what men do. Now we're talking about how to create romance in the relationship. Because rarely do people ever think about divorce or have big fights or arguments if they have a great romantic life. Particularly, this is something women need to know. Sexually satisfied man, happy to do whatever you want. Period. Don't have to say much about it. You ask any of these men, after having great sex, next day, whatever she wants, yep, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. How many men can relate to that, okay? You know, right? We'll clap those hands, absolutely. It's just, and what happens is that in sex, and of course the man, it's not just sex, he wants to have sex with a partner who's fulfilled. He experiences her fulfillment, and that makes him fulfilled. That's the irony here. If you talk to men about what makes sex great, you know what they'll tell you? He said, your whole seminar still do all just on sex. Men will start talking about what they provided for the woman, okay? And if you get a woman to talk about what was great about it, she'll talk about what he provided for her. It's like we're perfectly compatible. Make the woman happy, everybody's happy. Things a man does for a woman outside the bedroom is what builds romance in the bedroom. But what happens in the bedroom builds romance most powerfully for a man, but also outside. So the bottom line is women need to feel romanced. How women feel romanced is primarily through communication, where they feel seen, heard, understood, respected. That their needs and wishes are being understood by someone, and that that person is considering them. Okay? Not that you're walking around all the time taking care of her. That would make her feel too guilty. Okay? Remember, women have to be given back too. It has to be a circulation. Okay? But that you're taking into consideration and honoring and respecting her wishes. The flip side of this is to know what men have hungered for from women for centuries. It's the same bottom line. Is that men are attracted to women, men are drawn to women, men are hungering for love, but it comes through sex. And the bottom line, it is sex. Sex creates the passion in marriages. When I'm counseling couples, when they're ready for divorce, there's always the sense the passion is gone. Many times women will say, I just don't feel anything in his presence. Or a guy will say, I'm just not attracted to her anymore. I'm not turned on by her anymore. Okay? I don't feel anything when I'm around her. And what he means, he doesn't feel attracted to her. What she means is she doesn't feel anything. And why doesn't she feel anything? Is he a bad person? No. Does she not love him anymore? No. Sometimes she says, well, I wish him well. Sometimes she says, I hate him, I want him to die. Okay, that doesn't happen, okay. We're talking majority here. I wish him well, I love him. The love has died, as if love can die. Love doesn't die, it just gets put in a coffin and buried. But if you dig it up and open that coffin, it pops up and says, thank you, I'm back again. Okay, and how does it come back again? It comes back when she feels heard, when she feels seen, when her feelings feel safe to come out. That's the whole trick. When a woman shares her feelings and a man becomes argumentative, after a while, she loses touch with her feelings around him. She can only share with other people. Things just don't even come up around him. You can see with lots of couples, they stop talking. Like one of my buddies, he said, my wife's always trying to get me to talk. She always wants to talk about things. Been married 25 years. We know everything about each other. What's there to talk about? And I looked at him, and I said, yeah. Kind of like that with a little question mark. He said, well, don't you think we shouldn't have anything to talk about? I said, well, we've been friends for 28 years, and we go to the movies. We always have something to talk about. He goes, yeah, why is that? I said, probably because I don't care if you talk. I can do all the talking if that's necessary. See, men can just be quiet together or talk together, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay? But women, you know, stop talking, they think something's wrong. Okay, what's the matter? No intimacy, no closeness, whatever. And so we started realizing, yeah, she's always trying to get me to talk. I guess if she didn't try to get me to talk, then I might start to talk a bit. But if you try to get a guy to talk, keeps him from talking. Whereas we don't realize, with women, you're supposed to try to get him to talk. If you don't try to get her to talk, she goes, he doesn't care. He doesn't even love me. He doesn't ask me questions. He doesn't even notice me. You know, when women get home from work, men get home from work, we do kind of the same thing. We go and hide to a certain extent. When women go hide, they're playing hide and seek. They are. They go and hide, and they go, now does he even notice if I'm gone? Does he even care if I'm here? Let's see how long it takes him before he even notices I'm not around. And then she shows up, he doesn't even notice, doesn't even care. Men don't realize that we're supposed to seek her out. Because when we come home and hide, we don't want to be found. Okay, maybe they won't notice I'm here. I can watch some TV or read a magazine in peace or do something. Nobody's going to bother me. So men want to hide out to a great extent. And sometimes women want to hide out too. But they want to be found. They want you to notice her and support her. That brings a woman back to her feelings. Then romance becomes very important to her. For a man, when he feels appreciated in a relationship, okay, then he wants to get closer to that source of appreciation. It's like being cold, frigid cold, and you feel warmth, okay? You want to just get closer to that warmth. Put your hands in that warmth. Get warmer and warmer and warmer because you're freezing. The world has been a heartless, cold place, and men have adapted to that. The only place in a man's body that's not 1/10 the sensitivity of a woman's is right there, okay? That's his most sensitive organ. He has no defenses there. It's a place where he has actually no control. He can't put up any defenses. It works or it doesn't. It's a very vulnerable place for a guy, very sensitive place for a guy. We've all that, as guys, we've all had that experience of zipping up our zipper once, and we're careful. It's very sensitive, okay? On it, I meant to say, okay? That sensitivity, that is when a man is most vulnerable, when he's most feeling. And when a man has sex with a woman, and she is feeling love for him, that love goes directly to him. See, you can love a man, but if he's like focused on work, or focused on this, or he's in a bad mood, the love doesn't get in. When a man is aroused, that's the time when a man can open his heart. That's the time when his heart is opening. And when a woman loves him then, that's when it goes in and washes away all his stresses. The most sensitive time in a marriage is when a man's aroused and how a woman responds. If she can love him at that time, health gets better, interest gets better. Suddenly his whole focus goes to her. Remember, men's focus goes to where they get love. In the work world, love is the reward. Okay, people appreciate me. They even pay me. I'm getting a reward. In my talk, when you respond, when you clap, okay, I'm doing a good job, I'm doing well, providing something of value, that gives energy. That's the reward. In a relationship, what are men looking for? What's the reward in the relationship? Her fulfillment. Any indication that he has succeeded in fulfilling her, and that's appreciation. So when he's connecting to her warmth, her appreciation just comes over him, washes him. He feels like a new man. This is like the elixir for men. Men who have great sex lives, they stay youthful. They stay alive. Okay? There's vitality. Sex is that creative energy. Remember how you felt when you fell in love. It wasn't because you were young. It's because you were in love. It was because his heart was open. When a man's heart is open, that's when he can give the woman the romance she needs. So it's like a loop. For men to be romantic, their heart needs to be open. For their heart to be open, they need to feel some arousal. Okay? It's a circulation. Now, when I'm not aroused, or the possibility of arousal isn't nearby, I'm a loving guy. I'm a great guy. I'm a loyal man. I'm a helpful person, great father to my children. But when my arousal starts, my wife immediately knows, oh, he sees me. Like, zzz, I'm looking. I'm just glued. You know, guys look. They just look longer, more intently when they're aroused. You can tell who's been married a long time and who hasn't, or who's not married. You definitely got a guy who's staring at the woman. And you know what? He's a great listener because he can't talk because he's feeling a lot, okay? He's waiting. He's waiting. It's worth the wait. He's happy to wait. Okay. But then once whatever happens to kill the arousal starts happening over time, that magnetic pull isn't there. And the secret is just learning what creates that. For women, we men have to do romance. Okay? My next talk, I'll be talking about how to score points with the opposite sex. And you'll start seeing how to create romance on both sides in very simple ways without having to do more. But the bottom line here is when a man learns to do those things that provide romance for a woman, helps her be in touch with her feelings, she feels love, she puts out the warmth, okay, which draws him in, so he becomes aroused with her. So we have the possibility of sex, we have the possibility of good communication, intimacy. The man wants intimacy as well, and you have a great relationship. Of course, it goes on waves, up and down. Nothing's ever constant, and we'll talk more about that in another session. How sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this. Sometimes he's like this, sometimes he's like this, okay? We have to look at all the parameters. I'm just looking at some of the ideals. But it's this connection, this magical spark that we can create. Just like fire, thousands and thousands of years, people live without fire. And then somebody found fire. And they learned, they caught it from lightning. Okay? And they carried around the sacred fire. Then they learned to rub sticks together with flint and create fire. It changed life. It's amazing, but what we're facing right now is a critical time in the evolution of mankind. With women moving into this, we might call it androgynous. More they're masculine, more they're feminine, and men no longer being restricted to just the male role, but having the opportunity to be involved in parenting, to be there raising children, helping that whole process, helping in the whole process of creating a family. What we have is men and women coming closer and closer together. There's a new reason for being in relationship. There's a new priority, and that new priority is passion. It's romance. Men and women want lasting passion in their marriages. And if we don't have it, we feel like something's missing. Now, how do we see some evidence of that besides all the divorce? Billion dollar pornography industry. Huge, huge, huge. Why are men so focused on that? Why has that become such a hunger? Because all that pornography does, it's just showing men, women who are saying yes to sex. Okay, that's all it is. What turns a man on is sexual availability. Sexual availability. When he feels he can provide fulfillment for a woman and she's willing to receive that and she's sending out the warmth. So men are like, you know, if we look at the extreme fringes of society, addicted to that. The focus is just on that. Not all men are that, but that's the extreme Martian. Why? Because it's through sex they start to feel again. Men need to feel. And over on the female side, what do we have? A billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar romance industry. Okay? Romance novels, one after another. Women buying and buying. Talk shows, feelings, expressing feelings as a talk shows. The soap operas, romance, all it is. Women are hungering for romance. They need romance. That's why men and women come together, for the passion. That's what keeps us together. You know, I can be with my wife and we haven't had passion in a while. We love each other dearly, but I start seeing us being like mom and dad, doing our duties. I know my things I do. She knows the things she does. But then when we work at some of the communication, generally it gets kind of down and we realize we got to do something. And we start doing the talking thing. I get her to talk, and she shares, and get her to talk some more, and she shares, and she feels better. She starts appreciating some of the things I do. We're loving each other, practicing these things, because we forget to do it as well. So easy to forget and go back to the habits our parents taught us. Then what happens, we bring the passion back. Then I could be doing my things, she's doing her things, but the connection is there. We're feeling a connection and a joy, and sometimes I'm stepping over in her world a little bit, and she's stepping over in mine. It becomes much more fun, much more playful. It's just a matter of making a few adjustments. You know, sometimes people think, oh, I'm just ill-fated to be with the wrong person. It's not that at all. It'd be like if you went skiing with no instructor. Put on skis and you're put on an expert slope. It's like going over a waterfall, and you would die. It would be very, very scary. You go straight down. You wouldn't know what to do. It'd be you got to start on easy slopes. You got to have instruction. And once you get that, within weeks, months, you can be going down the expert slope, but with that assistance. If we want to fly down those expert slopes, we need assistance, we need practice, we need skills, and it can happen. And my having been a beginner in skiing and now going on expert slopes. The irony here is I haven't changed at all. I'm not different. I just learned a few skills. The same thing in relationships. People don't have to change a lot in relationships to have better relationships, to have that passion. Okay? They just need to learn a few skills. That's all it is. It's not that a man becomes unloving or a woman becomes unloving. They need a little support from each other. Women need the communication. Men need the understanding of women to give them that. And then women can give men the appreciation that we need. So the irony is, what is the job description in relationships for the 90s? We have to learn a new skill, a new way of relating to each other. Ironically, for thousands of years, in marriages where there was no passion, men and women did know that we were different, but they never crossed. Women were there, men were there, and we didn't understand what those differences were. As we come closer together, we need to understand those differences, otherwise there'll be friction. And to minimize friction, we repress feelings, and it kills passion. We even have less passion sometimes in previous generations. The possibility here is greater passion. Why? Why is it? Because when women have more confidence, are more independent, what happens to them is their masculine side is ignited as well. It allows them to be more sexual in their nature. What I'm finding at the breaks in my seminars that I teach all around the country, thousands of people, at the breaks, women come up to me all the time. You talk about men wanting sex. I'm the one who wants sex. I want sex. My husband's not interested anymore. And I always say, well, how old are you? Almost every time they say 37. Well, you have to know, men, that's when women go into their prime, around 37. And that's when us guys have kind of given up. Well, I guess I was too rambunctious, okay? See, guys are that way around 18, okay? That's our sexual prime. And we won't keep it exactly, but it can stay the whole lifetime. I know many men over 70 and 80 who have great sex lives. I won't say many, I know some, okay? And you know why I met them? I met them in my seminars. Towards the end of the seminar, we're going to be talking about Mars and Venus in the bedroom. And after that talk, that's when people even stop me on the streets. You wouldn't believe what happened last night, okay, as a result of that. And to me, it's so fulfilling when a 70-year-old man tells me that he just had sex the first time in 10 years, and it was God's gift. Thank you so much, John. Happy to do so. It brings back vitality. But it's not the only place men need to feel love, but it tends to be a door opener. Because when a man is aroused, that's when his heart can be touched the most. That's when a woman's love can heal him the most. And as remember, we go back in time, we see that men have always gone to women primarily for love. And women have gone to men for power. Okay? Now as women become more powerful, independent, they don't need men so much for power. What do they need men for? Well, what a lot of the women have been saying is, we need men to be loving. And that confuses a lot of men, because then they start becoming like women. And you know what happens? Those women divorce them. I can't tell you how many times I've experienced a woman going, I didn't realize he had so many problems. It's true. They say they want it and they get it. They get another woman. They go, wait, I want a guy, you know, that strong, quiet guy who can be there for me. Okay? Not that men have to be quiet, I'm just saying, but that's sort of the image. And they're attracted to him and not their husband anymore. There's something about masculinity, which sometimes, pure masculinity, is courageous, it's goal-oriented, it's efficient, it's can-do, competent, nothing to worry about, we'll do what we can do. It's resilient. Feelings hurt? Well, people make mistakes, that's okay, I can handle it. Now that's the extreme. Nobody's that way fully, except the Terminator. And I remember watching the Terminator movie, because as a guy, you identify with the characters in the movie. So I'm identifying with the Terminator. He walks like this, you know, he moves like this. He's like very robotic, very mechanical. As a Martian, that's very easy to identify with. I watched all the guys leaving, and myself, when I left that place, I was walking. And I had a purpose, I had a goal, I was there. And what I realized, this is the first time in my life I was acting, it lasted about 20 minutes. I was behaving without any feelings. You see, this is the irony. When a man has no feelings, he has the greatest power. Okay? Now, I'm not saying men should be without feeling, but I'm saying when you have no feelings, the power is enormous because you have no fear. See, when you're fearless, you just can do, can do, can do. The problem is, power with no feeling will inevitably and always become destructive. Okay? It is feeling that guides us in a compassionate, sensitive, empathetic way. It is from feeling that we have conscious people. All they did is just went around killing, killing, stealing, killing, killing, killing. Power with no feeling. Now we're at a whole new era where people can have power and feeling. Where does it come from? Relationships. It comes with a combining of male and female together. And what happens when the male and female, when does the man feel most masculine? Sex. And when does a woman feel most feminine? Romance. Passion. She can abandon herself. Feel safe, trust, accept, enjoy. So feminine. Men, okay, I did that. Can do, feels great, doing the whole thing. And the two forces come together. It's like an alchemy, which is maximum creativity, maximum life, gives birth to children. Okay? To capture that passion, to build on that passion. That's what's possible today. Before it wasn't possible, because women were in the woman's world, the man was in the man's world, and basically, the man could go into the woman's world just a little bit and come back, and that was it. Now we can blend a little bit more, and the result of that blending is women can go deeper in their vulnerability with a man. You see, if you look at traditionally, women have always walked behind men. Most cultures around the world. Men are moving ahead. Women walk 10 feet behind, 5 feet behind. If you went up, you know, some young women today, oh, see, sexist society, they make the women walk behind. If you go and talk to those women, they'll say, you say, why are you walking behind? They'll say, we don't want to walk with them. We're talking. And they'll just interrupt us, and they don't understand. Okay? They have their little world, and talking what's important to them. Men have their little world, achievement, goal, forging the territory, going ahead, checking out the route. That's the man's thing. So they're doing together. The women are sharing together. It's not sexism. That's the way the world was. Now it's called sexism because a new possibility exists where men and women can be equals, can share. But to share, you still have to have your integrity. That's what we have to hold on, is men have to stay men, but respecting femininity. Women have to stay women, but respecting masculinity. Expressing their masculinity, but without giving up their femininity. You know what's called? Now, this is not me saying it, but this is our society. When a woman is too strong, what's she called? She's a bitch. Right. Okay, that's the word for it. I don't like to say it, but that's what they call it. Okay? Too strong. And you know what? A woman can be that strong and more strong without being called that, if she's in touch with her femininity. But she has no role model to teach her how to do it. And what's a man called? When a man is on his sensitive side, he's too far to, more on his female side. He's called weak. Man too sensitive, he's weak. I like to have lunch with him, a woman will say, but I don't want to marry him. I'm definitely not turned on to him. So what we have in the 90s is a lot of sensitive young guys who are pissed off because they're horny. Right, you know. They tell me, they say, I share with these women, I'm friends with these women, and all they want to talk to me about is these crummy guys that they get in relationships with. They don't want to have me. Why don't they want me? Because he's being too feminine. Guy too feminine, nice guys finish last, that whole thing. Nice guys don't have to finish last. I'm a tremendously last guy. I win every time. I'm ahead. Lots of men are nice and powerful, but it's a balance. It's like even in my own career, I'm 43 years old now, starting to get close to my peak, whatever. I could have done a lot of this stuff 10 years ago, but it was a slow build because I prioritized my relationship. I prioritized my family. My family has been number one, taking the time for them, because I know that life is a building process. It's a building process. Fortunately, I had role models that could teach me that. But if I was just focused on my career and I had a bitter, resentful wife, that's going to keep me back from being successful. Think about your success, men. In the world, and for women as well, but I'm just talking to men here. What makes you successful is when people trust you. When people trust you, they go to you for your services. What makes you successful is when people appreciate what you have to do, but primarily trust. If my wife trusts me, if my wife appreciates me, then when I go out into the world, people appreciate and trust me. It's almost like there's an aura around me of, I'm a can-do guy. I've got a family. I've got a wife. I've got children. They all think I'm the greatest guy in the world. So the people think that. But if I don't have that support, then I'm always trying to prove myself to other people. Whereas you have it, and that's a great gift a woman gives to a man. You know, my success is half with my wife. Okay? She gives me so much support, and that's the love a woman can give to a man. Her love empowers him, makes him lucky. I always call my wife, she's my lucky charm. When my wife is happy, great things happen to me. I'm telling you, it just comes right in. She's unhappy. I work hard to make her happy. I take time off from work. We're talking making mom happy. My wife going to be happy. Staying up. Even what I do with my scheduling, because now my books are so successful, I've got a person just handling all the calls for requests for me to do things. And there'll be all these enormous opportunities that most men will go, wow, I'll do this and I'll do this, all the things I ever wanted. And they are. But I go now, I have my wife come in, and my secretary, my assistant who does this part of it, she'll come, and I have her go down the list of all the people that want me and what they're going to pay me. And I say, nope, don't want to do it. Nope, don't want to do it. Nope, don't want to do it. Every time she hears that, she goes, she's more important. She's more important. Family's more important. Instead of my just saying, well, honey, I'm home tonight, I let her know all the things I didn't do to be home tonight. So basically what I'm accomplishing there, man, that's a little technique I use. That's the best foreplay. I bring her in. I bring up all the things we're saying no to. See, I said no to this, no to this, no to this. Matter of fact, all the little sacrifices we make, men, for our family, we want to make sure they know it, they see it. Because women need to feel that we're doing things for them, because they're always doing stuff for us. We have no idea of all the things they do for us. They're thinking about us. They do things for us we didn't want them to do for us, but they still feel they're doing it. They're worrying about us, and they're thinking about this, and doing this, and shopping this way, and looking at this. We just rather them be happy, but they do it. So we have to make little sacrifices, and that's what I'll talk about in the scoring points. In our parents' generation, they made big sacrifices to stay together for the security of the family. They sacrificed who they were. Women would sacrifice their feelings. Men would sacrifice their feelings. And that's the feelings is how we connect with our authenticity, who we are. Men would give up who they are, what they really want. Women would give up who they are, what they feel, what they really want. And suddenly the passion goes away. We can keep the passion. We have to learn how not to give up who we are, but actually help our partners not give up who they are. See, my wife's tendency is to give up who she is, for her children, for me, for the world, whatever. And I help her through the communication, through the romance. That brings her back to her sense of self, back to her feelings. She helps me not become too work-oriented. See, I could easily give up myself to my work. There's just doorways, opportunities everywhere. But even before that, there were closed doors, but I was trying to open them, giving myself to my work. But what she would do is help me come back to the relationship by being warmth, by welcoming me back, the appreciation and the communication. And that's so very vital that we understand those basic needs. See, if you're trying to do everything, you end up doing nothing, okay? You can't just give them everything. You focus on what's most important for a man. You focus on what's most important for a woman. It's called prioritizing your energies. It's a very Martian concept. In fact, on Mars, our basic formula, and many times women, you misunderstand this, but it's a good formula. On Mars, the formula is never do anything you don't have to do. Right? That's efficiency, okay? Never do anything you don't have to do. Now, so a guy comes home, well, I'm tired. That's the most biggest priority. I need to do this. And this stuff can wait. This can wait. Women don't have that formula. They go, if he's not doing it, who will do it? I've got to do it. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. So she starts taking it on more. And the more she takes on her own, the more he takes naps. Because he figures, well, she's doing it. I mean, how many women say to your husband, or hear from your husband quite often, where are my keys? Let me just see. Any women ever hear that one? Okay. You know that? Where's my keys? Where's my jacket? Where's this? See, men are always like losing stuff around the house. But when they were single, they weren't asking somebody where are my keys. They got to your house, didn't they? It's like women have radar for new things to do. Okay, I can tell them where his keys are, My wife notices when keys are in an unusual place. She makes a note of that. Okay, I never know where her keys are. It's like not necessary for me to know. She can take care of it. So women, when you take on a lot, makes a man go, okay, I'll specialize in this department since she's doing all those departments. So what happens is he gets further and further away from her. So it's starting to get closer, but not that he's supposed to go do everything together. That's not going to happen either. We need to have our separate worlds, Martian and Venusian, and then we need to have the place where we connect together, or we connect together, whichever. We have that connection place, and then we go back to our worlds. We come closer, we go back. And that's what keeps the passion going. If a man becomes too feminine, all the way to the feminine, you lose the passion. Woman becomes all the way over the masculine, loses the passion. So that's what we're going to explore, is how to keep the passion alive. So thank you also very much for making this a very special day. Thank you.